Mr. Secretary, could you call the vote, or call the roll call?
Mr. Floridora,
Here.
Mr. Fredericks,
He said here.
oh, I didn't hear him, I'm sorry. Alan DeMarco here, Mr. Knick,
Present.
Mrs. Copenhaver,
Here.
Mr. Mittrick, Mr. Pride,
Here.
Mrs. Sankey,
Here.
Mr. Schwalm. All present.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the commission meeting held September 20th, 2024.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion second. Mr. Secretary, any discussion or amendments? Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Do we have to do that?
Oh, do we have to do?
We just have
One.
Just one,
Yeah.
I thought so. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, use the same sign. All ayes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Creed, do you want to introduce our first proposed rulemaking?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. The first item for consideration can be found on page 2 of your agendas and is from the Bureau of Wildlife Management. To effectively manage the wildlife resources and provide hunting and trapping opportunities in this Commonwealth during the upcoming license year, the Commission is proposing to amend Section 139.4 to provide updated seasons and bag limits for the 2025-2026 license year. The 2025-2026 seasons and bag limits have been amended to reflect current available scientific data, population and harvest records, field surveys and professional staff observations, as well as recommendations received from staff, organized sporting groups, members of the agricultural community, and others interested in the management of the wildlife resources of this Commonwealth. For snowshoe hares, a season limit of 3 hares per hunter is proposed. This reduction in maximum possible harvest per hunter, compared to only a field possession limit, should reduce the possibility of overharvest on isolated segments of the hare population. For white-tailed deer, a one-day archery/flintlock managed hunt at Middle Creek Wildlife Management Area occurring outside regular deer season dates in WMU 5B is proposed. This season was previously established by an executive order in prior years. There are no significant changes proposed for other species for the 2025-2026 license year.
Mr. President, if I could address the board, sir. Due to recent developments, we are asking that the language on page 8, the deer archery at Middle Creek, be pulled from the text. Staff has determined that the regular season will suffice, and this is an unnecessary season.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it. Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
So, do we have a motion to accept
So moved.
with the Middle Creek changes that Dr. Snoop articulated? So, we motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion a second. Discussion. Oh, before I do,
If I may.
Commissioner Copenhaver, let's go page by page.
By page?
Not voting, just I'm going to go through and say, okay, anything on page 2 that needs to be amended. We're going to vote at the end, though, by the way. Anything on, if they're hearing none, anything on page 3 that needs amended? Okay, going to page 4. Anything on page 4 that needs amended from the presented? Thank you. Anything on page 5? Anything on page 6? We're to page 7. We're to page 8, and we already voted on the amendment that Dr. Snoop presented. Any other on page 8? We're on page 9.
Mr. President,
Yes, Commissioner Copenhaver.
if I may, under our deer agriculture, our ag tag proposed season on page 9, I see that the proposed dates there are July 1, 2025, running through April 15, 2026. My understanding is, a couple of changes here compared to what we have done in the past. It appears we're proposing to open a month earlier on July 1 as opposed to August 1, and then running concurrently through all of our hunting seasons. So we're not taking that break during hunting seasons and allowing folks to use ag tag as our hunting seasons progress. I like the structure of being able to use ag tag during hunting season. My concern as a commissioner, and we heard a lot in public comment about following the science, but that there's also significant social considerations as the governing wildlife agency that we absolutely have to take into account when we make these decisions. Here in Pennsylvania, our peak fawning date is June 1. And biologically, it takes 10 weeks for those fawns to be weaned, which would put us to April 15th. In my heart of hearts, and this is just me speaking as one commissioner, I would offer an amendment that we push that July 1 start date back to what we have in the past and keep it at August 1. And in doing so, we're still utilizing hunters where we can and where it makes sense to help our ag producers, understanding that they're facing crop depredation at significant rates, but also understanding that the proposal as is before us right now would allow an individual to go out and harvest a very, very young fawn, put one of our green ear tags in it, toss it on their tailgate, take a picture, and blast it all over social media, and that would be 100% legal. I don't think that's something that this agency wants to do. So my motion would be to push that start date back to August 1, which is where we have had it in the past.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Discussion on this specific amendment.
Just to clarify, Kristen, because I think you accidentally misspoke. You said June 1 is the peak fawn date, and 10 weeks is how long it takes for them to be weaned, which would put us at where?
Should be August 15th.
August 15th. I thought you said April. That's why I was confused. Thank you.
Yep.
Other discussion or questions? I just want to remind, we were briefed yesterday on this. If those of you that couldn't be here, if you want to watch it on our YouTube or whatever appropriate social media site it is on, you can find it. The addition of, if we expand the ag tags, the additional days, and you'll have to fact check me on this, it's 200 and some days now for the specific ag tag. It was we're at 190. I was close, 190. So significantly more agricultural days to hunt than we currently have. So we heard the public of the concern, and that was articulated of more ag tags. It's just the points from the biological perspective are something that we've heard as well, as Commissioner Copenhaver expanded. I do want to remind everybody that this is the ag tag. It's not the depredation permit that farmers can shoot specifically for crop damage. That is open year-round, 365 days a year, 7 days a week, any time of year. So just to be clear on that. Any other? And if I said anything that was non-factual or not correct, please, my memory sometimes fails me, and I don't have the notes on that. Okay. Any other discussion or questions on that? So we have a motion, a second. We have the discussion on the specific amendment. Mr. Secretary, could you call the vote on that amendment? We're moving it from July 1st start date to August 15th and keeping the April 15th
Do
date.
you want a roll call vote or just a
I'd
general
just
vote?
do straight up.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
Scott, did you say,
Point of clarification.
did you say August 1st or August 15th?
Oh, excuse me. August 1 is what your amendment was, correct?
Correct, the motion is to keep our start date where it is now, which is August 1.
Yeah, I meant to say, August 1, I meant to say to April 15th. Thank you, Doctor. Was there anything else?
Well, my only concern is that we're not giving these phones enough time. August 1st is only 60 days from peak birthing time of June 1st. I would think August 15th would be a better date, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, we're going to call the vote on a specific amendment. Mr. Secretary, at your pleasure, roll call or straight up.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please use the same sign. The ayes have it.
Thank you. We have to go back to the amendment that Dr. Schnoop introduced, which Cree, if you could give me the exact, what we were striking. We did not officially vote on that amendment. What are we striking? On the Middle Creek.
Middle Creek.
Yes, sir. So 3/4 of the way down there where you see deer archery with the required archery license, Middle Creek Wildlife Management Area, December 17th, December 17th. One antler deer and antlerless deer with each required antlerless license. That language would, we're requesting that language be stricken.
Okay. So do we have a motion for specifically on page 8, that amendment?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that amendment? No discussion? Mr. Secretary, if you could call the vote?
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And now we will continue on the seasons and bags. Anything else on page 9? Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. And page 13. Yes. Yep, okay. So, hearing no further amendments, we need a vote on the whole package as presented with the amendments that we voted on. Do we have a motion on that?
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, thank you. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, thank you. Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor of the proposal, please signify by saying yes.
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 Those opposed, no. They listened. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thought I could trip them up, but didn't do so well.
Thank you. Before we move to the next item on the agenda that Cree will read, I'd like to call out a speaker that I think is neutral topic, is hunter sharing the harvest. You know, the numbers you presented, Randy, are impressive, and we'd just like to thank you on behalf of the commissioners, you and your organization, on what you do, and we support it wholly. So thank you very much. Okay, Cree, next item on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next item for your consideration can be found on page 14 of your agendas and comes from the Bureau of Marketing and Strategic Communications. The Commission is proposing to amend Section 135.181 to authorize users of rifle and handgun ranges located on state game lands to discharge a firearm at a steel target placed and mounted by the Commission. The Commission historically authorized the discharge of firearms at its ranges at only paper targets placed on a permanent backboard mounted by the Commission. The addition of steel targets at designated ranges will provide shooters with the benefit of a near-instant, audible response to confirm accurate hits. The Commission expects the addition of steel targets at designated ranges, especially long-distance ranges, will eliminate or substantially reduce safety risks and range closure times associated with a shooter traveling downrange to check targets for hits. The Commission does anticipate higher initial costs for steel targets as compared to the permanent backboard design they will replace at certain designated ranges. However, the Commission also determined the use of steel targets will result in long-term savings for the Commission in the form of reduced target maintenance and paper backboard waste cleanup costs typically associated with ranges equipped with permanent backboard targets. It is important to highlight that while this rulemaking proposes to authorize users of rifle and handgun ranges located on state game lands to discharge a firearm at a steel target placed and mounted by the Commission, it will not authorize use of steel targets produced or mounted by users themselves.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Well, excuse me. Jason, did you have anything to add before we make a motion?
No, I believe the last statement about it is not authorizing the use of steel targets produced or mounted by users themselves. I think that's the key to this. You know, the steel targets that are being placed, they're placed by the Commission. And for safety reasons, we just don't want everybody bringing what they believe is a safe steel target to our ranges.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Do we have a second? Second, anybody?
Second.
Thank you. If I didn't hear it, I'm sorry. Discussion on this subject.
I have a question.
Yes,
then.
sir.
There's still going to be paper targets.
Correct, yes. There will be paper targets, probably at the lower end of the ranges. The steel targets, the intent was the long-range targets, so we're not...
When you talk about long range, are you talking
300
200?
yards and beyond?
300 yards and beyond.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, every range will be different. But from the onset, it will probably be the longest ranges that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, one more question. Understanding that folks can't bring their own steel target, will it be permissible for users to bring a can of spray paint and paint these targets?
I don't see why not to mark it, so if they know if they have a mark or not.
Correct.
I don't believe that will be an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I know you're not shy, so. Okay. We had a motion and a second. Discussion. Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. The yeses have it.
The next item for consideration can be found on page 16 of your agendas. The Commission is proposing to amend Section 141.4 to replace the current hunting hours table and migratory bird hunting hours table to accurately reflect the dates and hours of legal hunting for the 2025-2026 hunting trapping license year.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second on that motion?
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion? Any further questions? Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
The next item for consideration is found on page 19 of your agendas. The Commission received requests from members of the public who hunt white-tailed deer in Wildlife Management Units 5C and 5D for an increase in the personal quota of antlerless licenses available in those WMUs. The Commission is proposing to amend Section 143.45 to increase the personal quota of antlerless licenses for individuals currently purchasing antlerless deer licenses for WMUs 5C and 5D from 6 to 15 antlerless licenses. This proposal will not affect the personal quota of antlerless licenses for individuals currently purchasing antlerless deer licenses for other WMUs, which will remain at 6 antlerless licenses.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second on that motion?
Second.
Open it up for discussion.
I
Yes, Commissioner Pride.
would like to speak to this. I think as we know, this is something that I had put forth to the board, and we've been talking about these aspects of the overpopulation of our arguably #1 wildlife asset in the state, in our WMUs 5C and 5D, and stretching from Commissioner Swam's area up in the Northampton, Lehigh area down to our 4 collar counties, including Philadelphia. This is one step in the direction. I mean, this is a problem for a lot of townships, a lot of municipalities down in our area. I mean, I've been traveling all throughout our region and hearing from townships and other large property owners and even smaller property owners, the number of deer that, continue to increase. I mean, our roadkill numbers continue to increase all throughout the area. So this is just one step, one tool to help our hunters, contribute to the management aspect of what we need. Also some opportunities for some new hunters that are, the team of our staff here are working to diligently to get more people into this. And it'll also be a tool for our farmers. I mean, a good number of deer management groups, I think the largest number of deer management groups in the state are down in our area. So this will provide another tool to increase from where we are at 6 to 15. Again, this is one tool that we're moving towards to try to help with our overpopulation and, just some of the challenge factors that we have. So I appreciate us being able to bring this forward to discuss and hopefully, make a positive step in this direction.
Thank you, Commissioner Pride. Other comments or questions?
Yes,
Commissioner
Mr.
Swan.
President.
Yep.
I concur with Commissioner Pride and would like to also ask the deer management team to increase the allocation for both 5C and 5D. And hopefully we can get some things a little better in control in both of those areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Swan, very, very much. Yes, I echo those sentiments. Anything else under this? Okay. Mr. Secretary, if you could call the vote.
Those that favor the proposal, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those, what did I hear?
Denny said aye.
Aye, okay, thanks. Those opposed, please say no. Motion carries.
The next item for consideration is found on page 21 of your agendas. The Commission is proposing to amend Sections 143.202 and 143.203 to update and improve the application and license issuance process for the random drawing elk license. The first proposed change involves amendments to Sections 143.202 and 143.203 to advance the base hunting license acquisition requirement to any period prior to the applicant's submission of a random drawing elk license application. Current regulations authorize a random drawing elk license applicant to submit an application without having first purchased a base hunting license. Thereafter, the acquisition of a base hunting license requirement is not triggered until the applicant is successfully drawn for a random drawing elk license. The second proposed change involves an amendment to Section 143.202 to simplify the text describing application requirements for a random drawing elk license to better reflect the current applicant identification capabilities of the Commission's PALS license system. It is important to highlight that the removal of the redundant Social Security number or hunter ID text contemplated by this change is predicated upon the advancement of the base hunting license acquisition requirement addressed above. The third proposed change involves an amendment to Section 143.203 to more accurately describe the process for a random drawing elk license applicant's earning and use of application bonus points. The current language was associated with the former process involving a literal hand drawing of physical random drawing elk license applications from a spinning drum. Recent updates to the Commission's PALS license system permit the drawing of random drawing elk license applications electronically rather than physically. The proposed text changes better reflect the drawing process the Commission is currently using. The fourth proposed change involves an amendment to Section 143.203 to eliminate the orientation program requirement for random drawing elk license applicants. This change is necessary to reflect the fact that the Commission is no longer offering an orientation program for applicants. The fifth proposed change involves an amendment to Section 143.203 to establish a 10% cap to the number of random drawing elk licenses that non-resident applicants are eligible to be drawn for. Current regulations do not set a maximum capacity for non-resident applicants.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
With motion and a second, discussion. Before we get into discussion, Jason, do you want to point anything out?
No, not
Okay.
actually, no.
Sorry to put you on the spot. Questions on this or discussion? I do want to add that this has been an issue or brought forth to the commission for years, and we're addressing, although it's a small number of elk, I think the number that Jeremy Banfield presented yesterday, it was, if you average this change out over the last 5 years, I believe, it was 17 elk, but when you're issuing, average of 17 a year, when you're issuing only less than 200 total tags, it's a significant number. So this amendment, we've heard this consistently from our constituents to limit the amount of non-resident applications available.
If I may, I'd like
Yes, Commissioner
to-
Sankey.
Thank you. I'd like to also propose the floor amendment that is found on the blue page for consideration, which would limit your drawing of a antlered tag to once per lifetime. And I know there was some concern about this regarding people who have been putting in for points, so Jason, if you wouldn't mind expanding on that a bit.
Yes, so in the floor amendment being discussed here is about beginning January 1st, 2026, any applicant that is successfully drawn for a random drawn elk license entitling them to an antlered elk will become ineligible to submit any applications for any future random drawing. So that date is the cutoff period. So those elk, those lucky hunters that were able to successfully pull a bull elk and hunt for bull elk prior to that date are still in the drawing, and they could, in theory, get a second bull elk. Anybody that gets pulled for a bull elk after that date is no longer eligible for a bull elk. It'd be like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. The preference points that were accumulated during that time period will be used towards the cow elk. So if they fall into that after that January 1st, 2026 date, and they got their bull in the 26th year, then those preference points can only be used towards the cow elk. So I hope that clarifies some of this stuff.
Just so that it's very clear. So we're talking about if you pull a bull tag, you are unable to even apply for a bull tag in the future. It doesn't matter if you are successful or not, correct?
Correct.
Our
correct.
success rate is extremely high. It's like 98% or something like that, I believe, so.
Yes.
Your chances are very good if you pull a bull tag. And then just to take a step back regarding the application related to the license, to make that clear, would you please explain that when the license needs to be bought in order to apply for an elk?
So our,
Hold on, Jason, before you do, sorry, Commissioner Sankey.
I'm mixing up things.
Are we only, just for clarification, we're only doing this for bulls? You said cows in the,
Oh, did I?
yeah, I heard cows anyway.
oh, that was probably me whenever I was talking
heard
about
cows.
the preference points.
Okay, that's where I did.
Because I think that would be a question from our hunters wondering, where their preference points are
Right.
going to be oriented after.
Sorry, it was Jason. Yeah, they'll be dumped into the cow category.
Correct.
Thank you. Go ahead,
Sorry.
Commissioner Sankey.
That's okay. Should we vote on that amendment before we talk about the license purchase clarification?
Yes. Right. Yes. So on the amendment to, as Jason Dukoski said with the mechanics, that we're not penalizing the bull hunters that were in the past as how he articulated. we're going to vote for this separate amendment of changing that going forward as Mr. Dukoski and we've chatted about. I mean, to read that into the record, you're the expert on it, so that's in the record, correct?
Correct.
Yep, so how we're going to do it. So we need a motion on that.
So moved.
Do we have a second on the amendment?
Second.
All those in favor? Or, excuse me, Mr. Secretary, call the vote. I have to apologize. I have a cold and I've been chewing Hull, so anyway, go ahead, Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor of the proposed amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
Thank you. Okay, continuing the discussion, Commissioner Sankey?
I was just hoping for some clarification because I know when I heard that you have to have a license in order to apply, I was confused because I don't normally buy my hunting license until after I've already applied for my elk. So I was hoping you could clarify on the timing on that.
So the language being proposed here says valid hunting license. So a valid hunting license is, we run on, the license year, the fiscal year. So from July 1st through June 30th of the following year. So basically, whenever it comes time to apply for the elk applications, which usually happen somewhat soon, if you have a valid license, that's carried over from last hunting season. So it's still good because we still can go hunt for spring gobbler and stuff like that. So
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. I think that'll keep the application checkouts going smoothly as well at our events. So thank you.
Point of clarification, Jason, we are talking about having a hunting license both for the non-residents going forward to apply, correct?
correct,
And the residents?
correct.
Yep. Okay, just want to be clear. Any other discussion or questions? So we need to, do we have a motion on the full proposal as amended?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion is second. Any further discussion? Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
Thank you.
Is it possible to just make a quick comment about this? I
Commissioner-
think
yes.
these changes that we just approved will bring us in line with what other states are doing with their big game, unique hunting opportunities. So I'm happy to see them move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sankey. And thanks for your bringing it forward through the committee process as well. You were a champion of that. We appreciate it. Okay, next item.
The next item for consideration can be found on page 24 of your agendas. The Commission is proposing to amend Sections 147.552, 147.553, and 147.556 to improve accessibility to and the effectiveness of the Agricultural Deer Control Program. The first proposed change involves amendments to Section 147.552B to replace the deed or lease production requirement with new language requiring that the applicant for the agricultural deer control permit only certify on their application that they are the owner or lessee of both the agricultural interest affected by material damage caused by white-tailed deer and the hunting rights of the land to be covered by the permit. The second proposed change involves an amendment to Section 147.552F to eliminate the 4-coupon limit for any person participating in the harvest of white-tailed deer on any property covered by an agricultural deer control permit. The third proposed change involves an amendment to Section 147.553A to relocate the text establishing the agricultural deer control permit season to Section 139.4 and also expand the agricultural deer control permit season to include the entire permit year save for a short closure period during the peak of fawning season in the spring. The fourth proposed change involves an amendment to Section 147.556A to establish lawful arms and ammunition requirements for those portions of the proposed expanded agricultural deer control permit season that overlap with traditional white-tailed deer hunting seasons by matching the requirements with the overlapping season.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Open it for discussions, questions, or comments.
Mr. President, if I may,
Yes, Commissioner Copenhaver.
I think these are some much-needed changes. We've heard, I think every commissioner sitting up here has heard from, our local ag community that some of these changes are needed and wanted. So I'm happy to see this before us today for consideration. And one of the things, I mean, there's little things that you can do to make big changes, right? And knowing that this particular program is going to be printed right in our digest, so everybody that purchases a hunting license is going to see that we have this ag tag program, know the dates that are available, and they'll be able to find participating ag producers and make that partnership and help them out and really utilize hunters as champions of conservation. I think this is a fantastic move in that direction, and I'm excited to see this on there and excited to continue working with our constituents at the Farm Bureau to make this program bigger and better for all those involved.
Thank you, Commissioner Copenhaver. I'm going to put Commissioner DeMarco on the spot, since he is our full-fledged member of the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau as an active farmer. Alan, do you want to?
I just have to echo what we already heard Mrs. Copenhaver say. There is a lot of frustration on the part of farmers, a lot of frustration on the part of hunters. And hunters want to see more deer, and farmers want to see less deer. And it's always been a frictional, what do I want to call it? What's that? Well, I wasn't thinking topic, but it's always been something that has caused a lot of friction. It's not been a symbiotic relationship, that's for sure. But I think this goes a long way with the prices that currently that farmers must expend to plant a crop, the lower prices of their product when it's being sold. I know you don't see that when you pick up a piece of beef in the market anymore, but it's all frustrating to them. And when they see it, everybody likes to see a few deer. I don't think anybody's opposed to a few. But when you see it's impacting economically the money that you have to put on the table to feed your family, then that becomes pretty much of a concern to them, and I think we all understand that. So I think this is a wonderful move, and I want to really give a lot of accolades to the Farm Bureau. Pennsylvania Farm Bureau has come to us with their concerns. They've been very, very cooperative in looking at some of these things and saying, what can we do to help you, and how can this help, and so forth. And they've even, I guess I can say this, they've even backed off a little bit on opposition to Sunday that had been, for a long time, the Sunday hunting has been somewhat blocked by them. And they are willing to give up some of that to get some advancement in control of what's happening on their property, knowing that will hopefully kill a few more deer. So I think it's a great move.
Thank you, Commissioner. I apologize, but you do well on short.
Mr. President, I want to add something to that, too.
Yep. Commissioner Pride.
I just want to echo what Alan and Kristen had referenced regarding the importance of what is in front of us right now. And I'll say, when Commissioner Schwalm and I joined the board here a little over 2 years ago, every single meeting that we've had, the interests of the ag community have been a topic of discussion. I think early on, the issue of trespassing was something that we, I think, got at very quickly, and hopefully we'll, continue to see some strengthening of that with what's in front of us the next couple of months and our legislative partners. So, I'm glad to see that this is moving forward in the way that it is, and really elated at the support of the Farm Bureau and our continued partnership and work with them. So this isn't something that is relatively new just in the last couple of months. I mean, I know even before we got here, the interest of the agricultural community has been front and center. So I appreciate this, and because I live and work with farmers down where I am, and I know they're extremely happy with what we're doing and trying to elevate and focus on their interest as well as the broader community.
Thank you, Commissioner Pride. Any other comments?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I would
Commissioner
also
Swan,
like
yep.
to thank the Farm Bureau for partnering up, and we've made a lot of accomplishments here in a short period of time, and look forward to working with the Farm Bureau in the future. So greatly appreciate the partnership, and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Swam, and I echo everybody's comments, so I won't belabor it. Yes, Jason?
I just wanted to add something because the question was asked, how many extra days this was going to give to
Thank
the
you.
ag tag.
That was me, yeah.
So the old program was roughly 109, that's minus Sundays, and, with the new changes, with the addition of moving that start date back to August 1st, we're looking at roughly 219 days. So that's over double of what it used to be. So I just wanted to add that.
Appreciate that, thank you. Other questions or comments before we call for a vote? Anything else? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, call for the vote.
Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
Thank you.
The next item for consideration can be found on page 28 of your agendas and comes from the Bureau of Wildlife Habitat Management. And before we get underway, it is my understanding that Mr. Haight, the Bureau Director, would like to address the board.
Yes, thank you, Chief Counsel Markson. Mr. President, the Bureau would like to request that the board table a few of these acquisitions to allow the opportunity for further stakeholder input. The subject agenda items are L 3892 in Butler County, found on page 34, L 3895 in Elk County, found on page 42, L 3896 in Potter County, found on page 44, and L 3897 in Perry County, found on page 46.
Thank you, Tim. So, appreciate that input. We need to ask, and do I have a motion? The motion will be to table those four properties that Tim had articulated. So do we have a motion to table?
So moved.
Who's seconding?
Second.
Yep, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We're tabling, thank you. Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
The Nature Conservancy is offering to donate 62 more or less acres of land in Elk Township, Chester County. This property lies within the Serpentine Barrens, which contain some of the last major remnants of serpentine grasslands in eastern North America. Access is from Barren Road.
Any comments, Tim?
Just want to point out this will create a new game land. Game land's number 340.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussions or questions?
Mr. President, I have just a comment on
Yes,
this
Commissioner Pride.
property. This is a strategically important property for us. I mean, I actually live not too far from there and had managed actually an adjacent property, right across the road from there, 180 acres that the Land Conservancy for Southern Chester County owns. And I can say that for the time that I was there managing that property and the operation in that area, the amount of trespassing and poaching issues were significant. And TNC, did an incredible job in preserving that property, but this gives us an opportunity to have more of a presence with our game wardens. Just another example of what happens when we preserve, protect, and create another game land. It's going to bring more of our resources to that area along with some of the other protected properties that don't have, the support in the presence. So this is going to do a lot for us in a very strategic area. And again, another example of the kind of partnerships that we have with our land trust and others. So I just want to make that comment here with this particular property in a really important area for us.
Thank you, Commissioner Pride. Any other comments or
I have a-
questions?
I
Yes,
have a
Commissioner
question.
Sankey, yep.
So I would love it if you could give us the cliff notes of what a serpentine grassland is and why they're significant.
Sure. So serpentine refers to the rock formation, that the habitat is growing in there. So certain types of rock are toxic to many of the plants here in Pennsylvania, but there are certain plants that are not, that they are able to grow into this type of rock formation. So the rare plants combined with the geology, it just makes it a unique and critical habitat. Promotes a lot of insect species richness, which in turn elevates up the food chain to our wildlife species.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. I will not tell my husband, who is a geologist, that I asked that question, please.
Well, I will tell him that. Invitation for you all to visit.
Any other questions? Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
Thank you.
The next item for consideration can be found on page 30 of your agendas. George Richards Hill, Jr. is offering to donate all his 1/18th interest in and to 115 more or less acres of subsurface oil, gas, and mineral real estate located in and under state game land number 12.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Questions or discussion, please? Anything you'd like to add, Tim?
It's
Yep. present it.
as an opportunity. We're always looking for opportunities to marry our surface estate and our
Right.
subsurface estate. This is a 1/18th interest, and it's a very gracious donation in an area that is being actively developed and will be continued to be developed here in the future.
Thank you very
for
much.
natural gas.
Yep. All right, Mr. Secretary, could you call the vote?
Those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
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 Those opposed, no. The yeses prevail.
Thank you.
The next item for consideration is found on page 32 of your agendas. Marianne Benson Dower is offering 33 more or less acres of land in Summit Township, Erie County, adjacent to state game land number 109. The option price is $150,000 lump sum to be paid from the Game Commission's restricted account, representing settlement funds from environmental damage claims brought by the Commonwealth. Acquisitions using this account may exceed $400 per acre. This property contains critical and unique wetland and stream habitat within the Trout Run watershed. The watershed is home to several species of greatest conservation need, such as bobolink and Virginia rail. Access is from Route 97, Perry Highway.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Motion second. Questions or discussion? Good. Okay, Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
The next item for consideration is found on page 36 of your agendas. On July 12, 2024, the Commission approved Western Pennsylvania Conservancy, Inc.'s offer of 195 more or less acres of land in Cool Spring Township, Mercer County, adjoining state game land number 294. The offer was contingent upon WPC successfully closing on its acquisition of the property. WPC was not successful in obtaining a grant to assist with the acquisition of the property. To proceed with the acquisition, WPC agreed to a new option price of $320,000 lump sum, with the game fund obligation limited to $80,000. The remaining $240,000 will be funded through a Section 6 non-traditional grant from the United States Fish and Wildlife Services awarded to the Commission. The property will be subject to deed restrictions pursuant to the funding sources. This property contains critical and unique wetland habitat and contains a federally threatened species. Acquiring this property will expand the existing game lands and work towards connecting two separate tracts of State Game Land number 294. Access is from East Cornell Road and Tate Road. Because the Section 6 grant funds are payable to the Commonwealth only as a reimbursement, $240,000 will initially be paid from the Commission's restricted account and then directly reimbursed back into the restricted account. The net effect to the restricted account is $0. To accomplish this, the Commission must approve the use of the restricted account, payment from the account, and the subsequent acceptance of the Section 6 non-traditional grant funds deposited into the account.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussions or questions?
Mr. President,
Yes, Commissioner Fredericks.
it's Denny Fredericks. For purposes of clarification and to avoid any conflict, I need to recuse from this vote.
Thank you, Commissioner Fredericks. Noted. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Secretary, if you could call the vote.
Those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail. Yes, I'm sorry, prevail. I'm not paying attention.
The next item for consideration is found on page 38 of your agendas. Elvin F. Martin and Miriam Z. Martin are offering 93.2 more or less acres of land in Plunkett's Creek Township, Lycoming County, adjacent to State Game Land number 134. The option price is $400,000 lump sum to be paid from the Commission's restricted account, representing funds from third-party commitments for compensation of habitat and recreational losses which occurred on state game lands from previously approved projects. Acquisitions using this account may exceed $400 per acre. The property will provide access to the existing state game lands. The Martins are accepting and reserving the oil, gas, and minerals, but not the right to use the surface of the property for any future OGM development. Access is from Hoppystown Road.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second on that motion?
Second.
Discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please call the vote.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
Thank you.
The next item for consideration is found on page 40 of your agendas. The Conservation Fund is offering 985 more or less acres of land in Houston Township, Clearfield County, adjacent to State Game Land number 331. The option price is $1,750 per acre to be paid from the Commission's restricted account, representing funds from third-party commitments for compensation of habitat and recreational losses which occurred on state game lands from previously approved projects. Acquisitions using this account may exceed $400 per acre. This property provides important habitat for elk populations in the area. Access is from Bark Camp Road, Hickory Road, and Mountain Run Road.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion and questions. The comment of myself, this is very familiar with me, the lands, and a very strategic purchase, as you mentioned, with Cree Red, with the elk and the population in that area, and appreciate the efforts and highly supportive of it. Tim, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, so there's elk currently on this property using it, so that's a big plus for us, obviously. Also, the price. TCF is essentially selling this to us for the same price they paid for it in 2009. So, again, very generous with the price they're offering for this piece of real estate.
Thank you, Tim. Any other discussions or questions? Okay, Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
The next item for consideration is found on page 48 of your agendas. Natural Lands Trust, Inc. is offering 9.4 more or less acres of land in Haycock Township, Bucks County, adjacent to State Game Land 157. The option price is $400 per acre to be paid from the Game Fund. NLT's acquisition of the property is contingent upon them receiving funding through partnership grants provided by the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources and the United States Fish and Wildlife Service through the Highlands Conservation Act. Covenants, conditions, and restrictions associated with these funding sources will be required to accept the property. Access is through existing state game land number 157. Because the HCA funds are payable to the Commonwealth only as a reimbursement, the Commonwealth determined the most efficient way to move forward is for the Commission to accept a subaward for the federal funds from DCNR, provide the HCA award amount to Natural Lands from the Commission's restricted account, and then directly accept the HCA federal reimbursement amount back into the restricted revenue account. This has the double benefit of being efficient, as well as ensuring federal dollars can be tracked directly to the acquisition project as intended by the HCA. The net effect to the restricted account is $0. To accomplish this, the Commission must approve the use of the restricted revenue account, payment from the account, and the subsequent acceptance of the federal HCA funds deposited into the account.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion, questions?
Mr. President?
Yes.
First of all,
Commissioner
I'd like
Swan,
to
yes.
say thank you to you and your team. I know how hard it is to get land in the, actually, Commissioner Pride's district, and it's so badly needed. So please convey that to your team, that we really appreciate that. Job well done. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It certainly takes, as you can see, three funding streams here just to get this property purchased in this part of the state. So thank you for acknowledging the team and how difficult it is.
Any other comments or questions? Not, Mr. Secretary, please call the vote.
Those in favor, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
Thank you.
The next item for consideration is found on page 50 of your agendas. On July 12, 2024, the Commission approved Natural Land Trust, Inc.'s offer of 6.6 more or less acres of land in Nakamixon Township, Bucks County, an indenture to State Game Land number 56. NLT was subsequently awarded a grant through the United States Fish and Wildlife Service Highlands Conservation Act to be used as additional funding for the acquisition. The HCA funds will be used in combination with the previously approved option price being paid from the Game Fund. Because the HCA funds are payable to the Commonwealth only as a reimbursement, the Commonwealth determined the most expeditious way to move forward is for the Commission to accept a subaward for the federal funds from DCNR, provide the HCA award amount to NLT from the Commission's restricted account, and then directly accept the HCA federal reimbursement amount back into the restricted account. This has the double benefit of being efficient, as well as ensuring federal dollars can be tracked directly to the acquisition project as intended by the HCA. The net effect to the restricted account is $0. To accomplish this, the Commission must approve the use of the restricted account, payment from the account, and the subsequent acceptance of the federal HCA funds deposited into the account.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All those, discussion or questions on the motions? Anything? Okay, Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor of the proposed motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
Thank you.
The next item can be found on page 52 of your agendas. Pheasants Forever, Inc. is offering 119 more or less acres of land in Tremont Township, Schuylkill County, adjacent to State Game Land number 229. The offer is contingent upon Pheasants Forever, Inc. successfully closing on the acquisition of the property. The option price is $536,000 lump sum to be paid from the Commission's restricted account, representing funds from third-party commitments for compensation of habitat and recreational losses which occurred on state game lands from previously approved projects. Acquisitions using this account may exceed $400 per acre. This property contains grassland habitat suitable for pheasant stocking. The property meets a strategic priority of being near a populated area of the state. Approximately 791,000 people live within 30 miles of the property. Access is from Mollystown Road.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion? Questions?
I'd just like to acknowledge Pheasants Forever for stepping in and helping us with this. With how quickly this transpired, without their partnership, we may not have had a chance to get this property. So,
Thank you for recognizing Tim, yes, and thank you to Pheasants Forever. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
The next item for consideration is found on page 54 of your agendas. Anthony J. Matlock is offering 1.68 more or less acres of land in Rockdale Township, Crawford County, adjacent to State Game Land number 85. The option price is $5,000 lump sum to be paid from the Commission's restricted account, representing funds from third-party commitments for compensation of habitat and recreational losses which occurred on state game lands from previously approved projects. Acquisitions using this account may exceed $400 per acre. This property improves manageability and integrity. Access is from State Highway 408.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second, please.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussions, questions? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
The next item is on page 56 of your agendas. Iroquois Ridge Partners, LLP, is offering 199.3 more or less acres of land in Pocono Township, Monroe County, adjacent to State Game Land number 38. The option price is $750,000 lump sum to be paid from the Commission's restricted account, representing funds from third-party commitments for compensation of habitat and recreational losses which occurred on state game lands from previously approved projects. Acquisitions using this account may exceed $400 per acre. This property will provide critical access to state game land number 38. Access is from Sullivan Trail.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or question? Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor of the proposed motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
Thank you.
The next item is on page 58 of your agendas. Creek Valley Farms and Richard K. and Tammy C.B. Carball are offering a 30-foot wide access road right-of-way encompassing a total of 2.05 more or less acres of their properties in Licking Creek Township, Fulton County, adjacent to State Game Land number 53, in exchange for a total of $3,700 from the Game Fund and road improvements to be made by the Commission. Creek Valley is also offering a total of .73 more or less acres of temporary workspace beyond the right-of-way to accommodate the Commission's contractor during the improvement project. Stephen T. and Darlene I. DeShong are also party to the agreement and will acquire a .11 acre of right-of-way from the Commission along with the Carballs. The Commission's access to the existing road to the Creek Valley, Carball, Commission, and DeShong properties in this area is not covered by any deed or written agreement. The Commission recently lost this access. The right-of-way will reconnect this portion of State Game Land number 53 to Creek Road for all lawful State Game Land users.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion or questions?
Yes, I have one.
Yes, Commissioner DeMarco.
The last sentence here says, for all lawful state GAM users. Does that mean if we have a contractor that wants to go in there and harvest timber or whatever the case is, that can't be used?
Yeah, no, that, it's an access for all of it, for all of our activities. So habitat management or public access for hunting.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Secretary, call the vote.
Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. President, I'd just like to acknowledge the real estate team and, of course, our folks out in the regions. Many of these transactions were possible because of them notifying us here in the Bureau. So just want to give a acknowledgement to them and also to landowners in the state. Many of these transactions, actually most of them, were folks reaching out to us who value our mission and want to see us get the land. So,
Thank you, and we as commissioners recognize your work as well and your team. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
The next item is on page 60 of your agendas. On September 20th, 2024, the Board of Commissioners approved Allegheny Land Trust's offer of 280.14 more or less acres of land in Indiana Township, Allegheny County, near State Game Land number 203. The offer was contingent upon ALT successfully closing on its acquisition of the property. ALT was not successful in obtaining a grant to assist with the acquisition of the property. In order to proceed with the acquisition, ALT has agreed to a new option price of $2,295,000 lump sum to be paid from the game fund. The parcel is in a county of the second class, and therefore the Commission may exceed $400 per acre under Section 705A of the Game and Wildlife Code. This property meets a strategic priority of being near a large city. It runs along Deer Creek, a stocked trout tributary of the Allegheny River, and contains several species of greatest conservation need. It will preserve and provide a buffer for the Rachel Carson Trail. Access is along Cove Run Road. This is an informational item only, therefore no action is required. Next, on page 62. On July 12, 2024, the Board of Commissioners approved the Nature Conservancy's offer of 1,153 more or less acres of land in Northampton Township, Somerset County, near State Game Land number 82. The offer was contingent upon TNC successfully closing on its acquisition of the property. TNC was not successful in obtaining a grant to assist with the acquisition of the property. The Commission is committed to providing up to $2,422,500 towards the acquisition and has applied to the United States Fish and Wildlife Service for the use of Pittman-Robertson funds to acquire the property. The required 25% state match for the PR grant will come from TNC. The property will be subject to deed restrictions pursuant to the funding sources. This property contains critical and unique habitat, including the headwaters of Brush Creek, a high-quality cold water fishery. The property is also within the Allegheny Front Important Bird Area. Access is from Ackerman Road. The Commission must provide the United States Fish and Wildlife Service award amount to TNC from the Game Commission's restricted account and then directly accept the federal reimbursement amount back into the restricted account. This has the double benefit of being efficient, as well as ensuring federal dollars can be tracked directly to the acquisition project as intended by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The net effect to the restricted account is $0. To accomplish this, the Commission must approve the use of the restricted account, payment from the account, and the subsequent acceptance of the federal Pittman-Robertson funds deposited into the account. I will note this is an informational item only, and therefore no action is required. The next item is on page 64 of your agendas. Expand Energy Corporation, previously Chesapeake Energy Corporation and Southwestern Production Company of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, requested the Commission offer its oil and gas rights under portions of State Game Land number 66 for non-surface use development. The proposed tract, containing approximately 933.8 more or less net acres, is located in Collie Township, Sullivan County. Expand will access the 933.8 net acre reserves from its current and planned drilling operations on adjacent areas off SGL 66 by horizontal drilling with no additional surface use or disturbance to the state game lands. The Commission negotiated the proposed terms of the agreement with Expand to prudently develop its oil and gas reserve and simultaneously protect the wildlife resources and recreational use of State Game Land number 66. The terms of the agreement are a 5-year, paid-up, non-surface use oil and gas agreement, a $1,500 per net oil and gas acre bonus payment, and 18% royalty for all oil, gas, and other liquids or condensates produced and sold from the proposed tract. The bonus payment of approximately $1.4,700,000 and future rental and royalty payments will be deposited into the Game Fund. Oil and gas development will be regulated by the Commission's oil and gas regulations and the Commission's non-surface use oil and gas cooperative agreement.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussions or
Mr.
questions?
Mr. President, I'd
Yes,
just
sir.
like to mention, I don't know if this area looks familiar to you all, but you did just approve this parcel, the mineral rights purchase of this parcel back in July. So we purchased and closed on the 50% interest of this parcel that's up for lease now. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussions? Mr. Secretary, please call the vote.
Those in favor of the proposed motion, please signify by saying yes.
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 Those opposed, no. The ayes prevail.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Under other new business, we have the election of officers. With that, myself.
Mr. President,
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Copenhaver.
if I could jump in real quick
Yes.
before we get to election of officers.
Thank you, Commissioner Copenhaver.
As we were kind of discussing in some of the ag tag changes that we implemented today, it came to our attention, a number of commissioners up here, that our mentored program is not included in the eligibility for an ag tag. And we sit up here and look around and say, man, what a great opportunity for mentoring. It's a wide open door. So I would ask staff to evaluate not just ag tag with our mentored program, but to also evaluate DMAP and regular antlerless tags as well. And provide the board with some direction as far as how we can increase opportunities while simplifying the regulation process associated with these mentees in obtaining antlerless tags as we move forward in the future.
I can think of one thing off the top of my head. Legislatively, we're going to have to address the issue where it says a mentored program can only have one antlerless license. So other than that, my team is more than ready to jump on board and get this done.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you. If you could provide us that information and we can run that through our committee process, we would absolutely appreciate that.
Okay. Under other new business, also, is the annual election of officers. Sorry, I don't have my microphone off. Under other new business is our annual election of officers. The chairman selects the nominating chair each year, which this year I had selected Commissioner Fredericks. I'm going to turn the meeting over to the head of the nominating committee, Commissioner Fredericks.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my pleasure to move forward with my fellow commissioners the following selection of officers for our 2025-26 session. Number one for the seat of presidency will be Stanley Nick Jr. as president. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The number two selection for the vice presidency will be Haley S. Sankey as vice president. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the third selection will be Mr. Alan DeMarco for secretary. All those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to take a second here and congratulate the new officers, and most importantly, to thank you, Scott Foradora, for playing the role that you did in the last session. The value that you brought to the board and to the wildlife resource is incredible with your business sense and your economic knowledge. It was truly a tremendous value to the board and to the resource. And it was a pleasure to serve as your vice president. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Fredericks.
Scott, can I?
Oh.
Scott, I'd like to add something to, or are we at that point? Sure. I also, Scott, want to thank you, and also you're going to continue to be a part of the chandelier segment of our board. Exactly. Clean shaven, not bald. But I want to, in a serious way, thank you for the commitment that you made over this past year. I mean, we had some unexpected things that happened. I mean, obviously, we know the transition in leadership, and with Steve being here, the amount of time that you spent in leading that time in that process was would be very difficult for a number of us. But you stepped up and really led us through, I think, a great transition in addition to a number of things that we've tackled during the year. So I just want to thank you for your leadership and for making that commitment and sacrifice, which I know was very difficult.
Thank you, but I want to say to all of you, we've all made the equal sacrifice, so thank you.
If I could make some comments as well. Commissioner Foradora, it's been a pleasure working with you in this capacity over the past year. I would like to present you with a print at this time. Please come down. I think we'll get some pictures, and I just echo the comments that were already made from different members of the board. Wanted to recognize your service to the board, your service to the commission, and then on a very personal level, your service to me as well, and how you've mentored me over the past 9 months. And Scott's a very busy person, as anybody who's ever tried to get a hold of you on the phone can testify, but you always made time on Friday afternoons. We would have a call, and often I was getting you in between meetings or in between calls. There'd be phones ringing in the background. I would hear people talking. But one thing that no matter how long or how short our conversation was, you always said the same thing, which is, Steve, you need to be thinking long-term, and you need to be thinking strategically. You need to be thinking about what kind of agency we're going to have in 5 years, 10 years. And you really ingrained that. Again, I don't think we had a call over the past 9 months in which you didn't make those comments. Think long-term, think strategically. And that was very valuable for me. It's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day in this position, but I appreciate your expertise, your interest, and again, you're reinforcing the need to think long-term and think strategically. So thank you, Scott. I'd like to present you with this.
Thank you very much. Do I have a half hour to talk?
Please.
I'll be brief. And I'll say, sitting in this microphone, it's a heck of a lot easier sitting up there. For those of you who do this, I commend you to come to the microphone. So you notice my print, turkey. One of the greatest things we've ever done, in my opinion, is the mentored youth hunt. And I know we want to try to lower that age, or talking about lower the age, so I'll just say one thing. The reason I chose the wild turkey is in 1972, for those of you old enough, the JCPenney cotton long underwear, the Murphy's Mark gum boot, and the duck camo for the Army Reserve, or whatever it was called. Back then, the spring turkey season came in April 20th. It was cold. Right where the Bitcoin mining farm is, Dave, my dad took me up there. Anyway, you're all turkey hunters, know the score, but I will say this, if Matt Moret's in the room, there were no decoys then, but there was a black pillow. And I sat between my dad's legs, and that gobbler came into the, not like a Marcellus well now, a little tiny patch in the woods. And my dad, sitting between his legs, shot that turkey. So it imprinted on me, the turkey is the greatest game bird. I will say this, I heard Jim Shockey say this at a talk. He was asked, if you had one hunt to do, and you could do any hunt in the world, what would it do? And I've been on tens of thousands, hunts not to brag, all across North America. If I had one hunt left, it would be the wild turkey in the big woods of Pennsylvania. To say to the commissioner group, thank you. You know, you recognize me. I want to recognize all of you and emphasize, as has been said, that we're all volunteers. And these individuals give immense amount of time. They've tolerated me and my long-windedness, and I appreciate that. So they all have the dedication to wildlife, the dedication to the conservation effort, and the dedication to our agency staff. So I want to thank you all. Lastly, I want to thank the employees, the administration of the Game Commission, starting with Steve Smith. You are a people person. You have the conservation and the best interests of hunters in mind. So we appreciate that. The rest of the staff. I come from the business world, as Steve said, and you've heard the slant, I don't know what the right word is, slander, slurs of government employees are not like the private sector. I've worked for 40 years in the for-profit business world with the best and the brightest, not including me, but seeing them act and seeing their passion. This agency, compared to what they can make in the private world, I'm in awe of the passion you have for the wildlife resources. So with that, thank you for listening to me. I appreciate you all. Okay, the next item under other business, just to remind everyone, the remainder of the 2025 commission meeting dates are April 11th and 12th. Oh, I'm sorry, Stanley. I'm no longer chairman. Stanley, I jumped.
Go on. Finish the day
I'm
off.
going, wait, no.
Finish the day off.
It's easy to sit back here. I got really nervous up there, so. Stanley, I want to congratulate Stanley of stepping up to the plate to be the next chairman. I know the agency will be in good hands and with the committee. So Stanley, please.
I really appreciate it, and I appreciate this board having the thought that I can run and be your president and guide you and try to help and work together, all together. I just don't want to be one person, and this board has been working together, and I want to keep it that way, all for the betterment of the Game Commission. Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
Well, I have it down here.
Unanimous?
For
Unanimous.
Stanley. Thank you. Thank you all.
Another good job, man.